Hello guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'll be showing you the process of me restoring this old Victor shotgun. And not only that, I will also be showing you me shooting it and some of the history, which is really blurry, but I'll be telling it to the best I can. So let's get right into this video with the disassembly of the buttstock of the shotgun. So I begin the disassembly process with taking off the butt plate, which is pretty common, and I start and I kind of notice, oh, this is really rusty, just overall bad condition. And the butt plate also broken. So I was thinking maybe I could look for parts. Parts are not there at all. So I kind of went through the process of just me doing a bit of this and a bit of this, thinking, looking at forums, and I was like, okay, I can restore this pretty easily. So my first thought is I have to get ready for the process of the restoration. So I instantly start cleaning up and getting ready to get some of my mats out. And I want to first deal with this rust because it's probably the easiest part. So first things first, I get my mat, and then I get my vinegar and all these different things because it's a pretty easy process. I just have to leave it in vinegar for a couple days, and I have to figure out what I'm going to do while this is happening. So I put the parts in vinegar, and it's pretty gonna be smooth sailing because you just have to keep it in vinegar, and then use something like a stainless brush or something like that to clean off the rust. While that's happening, I attempt to get my mind off of that by trying to disassemble the gun further, trying to get the metal hardware from the wood hardware, and I quickly realized the owner before me used a ton of wood glue and epoxy and all these different things, and the metal hardware is stuck to the wood hardware. So I tried to clean up some of the epoxy later on, and I didn't really end up too good, and some of the stain came off. So my first thought is, okay, what I need to do is I just need to restain the entire thing, make it look better, new, and I knew I had to do this anyway because there were a couple cracks, and if I want to get rid of the epoxy, I might get rid of a bit of the stain, and then if I do that, I'm gonna have to restain it anyways or just live with it, and I would much rather pretty much sand it all down right now using 220 as you just saw, and just really get the colors out and then stain it up later after I do all that stuff with the cracks and the little cracks and nips and all that type of stuff, just real quick. So pretty much I want to get into the history while I sand down the stock and get the rust off of some of this different stuff. It's pretty straightforward. I just use a stainless brush, and that's how I got the rust off, and I just used a 220 sandpaper. So I'm probably just going to put up the instructions on the side, but whatever, I'm going to get into the history real quick. So let's start with the shotgun, the Victor shotgun, which was a Crescent Arms title. So they really put this on some of the shotguns, mostly the Victor ejector. Now, this shotgun itself doesn't really eject. It extracts the cartridge or shell, and then you can just take it out with your hands and throw it. But a lot of these were ejectors, so if you opened it up, flew out, you can find that in a lot of side-by-sides and probably a lot of single shots nowadays. But pretty much Crescent Arms made it, kind of sold it to America Co., which that was the supposed store brand, but it was really just kind of just outsourced it to Crescent Arms, and they made it for them, so it was a pretty interesting process because all these different stores had the shotgun, maybe with different stamps and stuff like that on the steel. So a couple different companies sold this shotgun, and it was pretty much just same design, different name. And pretty much Crescent Arms owned the title of Victor. So for a while, they just made these shotguns from around the 1800s to around the 1930s. So they made a lot of these house shotguns. These were really just like Great Depression. You need something to hunt. Boom, you got this. And the hard part is about finding the history about Crescent Arms is a ton of the documentation got recycled during the 1940s because we needed all like the paper drives and stuff like that. So the history is really hard to find with these guns, but it was pretty much like a ton of just random weird designs and shotguns. They change it up every year, and different stores want different requirements, so there's a lot of different types. But pretty much Savage bought out Crescent Arms somewhere in 1931, and they remained in their original store for around a year. So they stayed in pretty much their area in Connecticut for around a year, like assembling all of the extra parts they had and making the shotguns, which they continued to make until they kind of needed to move out, had to do with taxes and stuff. So they moved out to Massachusetts to around their new owners, which is Savage. So Savage bought them, and they wanted them closer to pretty much their home base, so they could manage them a bit more. So they pretty much moved from Connecticut to Massachusetts in basic explanation. So they moved locations, and now not that much is hurt. They pretty much just became one with Savage, pretty much, and that was the end of the story. So the manufacturer is no longer around. They're just a branch under Savage. Now, from what I've personally seen with these guns is that they're kind of beaters. I mean, back in the day, every house had something like this, but now they're kind of obsolete, some would say. Personally, it's nice. I like it, but some people wouldn't even be caught dead carrying one of these, and that honestly surprises me, but, whatever floats your boat. But these guns are, honestly, not half bad, but from what I've seen, these retail around $20 to $300, surprisingly. But yeah, these are pretty much just wall hangers nowadays. So you might have one of these at your grandpa's house, just hanging on a wall, or at a cabin. You go in an Airbnb, So this is usually just a wall hanger, but good condition ones can usually shoot low brass, which what we're planning on doing today. So yeah, we'll be shooting pretty much just low brass. I'll be showing you some of the cartridges or shells we were using, but pretty much that's it about the history. Honestly, it's just really hard to find it, and I mean, you could do research by yourself, but I pretty much gave you the basic outline of what's up with this gun. Now, I'm just going to be honest here real quick. I did a really shoddy job with fixing up some of these cracks and stuff like that. If you have the time, I'd recommend you to take your time and make sure everything's like right where you want it to be. Making sure it's tight, down the cracks and all that stuff. But I did a bit of a shoddy job, I'm going to be honest here. I was trying to get it to shoot as soon as possible. You shouldn't really be doing that. Just my warning and advice. Just spend extra time, because this thing's going to be in your hands and you're going to be shooting it. So pretty much that's what I did. I used some epoxy and all that type of stuff in the cracks, and I was trying to get the butt plate back together, which the butt plate actually ended up pretty well, So I quickly moved on to the finishing after I fixed it up to my best degree I could in however long it took. So I was going to use this finish I got just at a hardware store. I didn't want to use anything specific, but, I think it turned out pretty good. I was going for a bit of a redder color, but it honestly turned out with a bit more of a dark walnut, which I couldn't really complain about because it's just like the original one, but just less grimy. Some people like the look of antique guns. I don't. I like having it smooth, and I was trying to give this guy a new life. Like here I'm using some mineral spirits just to make it a bit more shiny, and all these different types of stuff. Like right here, I'm just kind of doing these quality things where I'm just trying to make it look nice. Like doing this here, or as you can see in a couple minutes, I'm going to be using shoe polish, which is, kind of weird, but, some people spend a lot of money on wax. I didn't really want to do that, so I just found some shoe polish. I read up on that, and I'm like, okay, if it's going to be a temporary thing that I can just seal it with so there isn't as much water, because as you saw, I had a problem with water, so I just want to fix that up. So let's just get into the shooting real quick. We just used some low brass, and that's pretty much it. We used some low brass. We didn't want to put as much pressure. This is an old gun. We didn't know if it was made out of pot metal or anything like that. So I was like, okay, I'll slap this together. I don't know what to do. So we're going to kind of use a basic system where we're just not even going to hold it. Just pull a rope. And after that, we'll actually shoot it with our hands. So let's get right into that real quick.
Ready?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Get it up close to your shoulder now.
Are you ready?
Yep. I like the way you do. You look at when you film it, you go back and then you hear the boom because of the echo.
Yeah. Man. Anyway, guys, that's it for today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed. Please like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me out. Anyway, see you guys in the next video.